Well, whether you thought they were the worst position group for the Vols this past football season or they got the rotten end of the deal, any way you want to spin it, Tennessee's going to have to start over on the offensive line heading into next season. We'll take a look at the Tennessee offensive line, who left, who's coming in, all that and more. It's a Monday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols, your place for Tennessee football news and entertainment 5 days a week, weekday mornings, wherever you get your podcast. You guys know we are free and available wherever you get your podcast, right here on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. Today's show is brought to you in part by our friends over at Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the promo code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Here on today's show, we're going to take a look at the offensive line and how it's going to have to completely regroup from this past year to next year. It's part of our position series, rather, that kind of looking ahead, not previews because we're well away from the season, but kind of looking ahead to each position group for the 2025 season. We'll talk offensive line here in segment one. Going to visit Tennessee basketball, number one ranked team in the land. Absolutely destroyed Arkansas in the SEC opener. We're going to revisit that and how that was awesome. Some impressive stats from Tennessee through 14 games of the year, and then where some Tennessee Volunteers are ranked by ESPN in position groups heading into the NFL draft. All that and more coming up here on a Monday show. All right, so when you look at Tennessee on the offensive line, again, I've gotten to some spats, not really spats, but some conversations with a lot of, some Tennessee fans in terms of maybe I'm just too stat driven, okay? I look at the offensive line, and by no means do I think it was great. But I look at the offensive line, and I say, okay, well, Tennessee rushed for almost 3,000 yards in 2024. And that is the second most ever in Tennessee football history in the modern era. That's the most ever since 1951. And so you can't just ignore that, right? But I also understand Tennessee in terms of pass pro, specifically SEC opponents, specifically Power 4 conference, not very good, and I recognize that. But I'm not just going to ignore how Tennessee ran. And I understand Tennessee had Dylan Sampson, and I get it. Dylan Sampson's like Superman, and Dylan Sampson's a great player, but Dylan Sampson can't do it by himself. And anybody saying, well, that was pretty much all Dylan Sampson, you don't know football. It's as simple as that. So this offensive line did one thing really, really well, and that was run block. Pass blocking, not so much. And so Tennessee's got to become a more balanced football team in the offensive line in 2024. However, when you look at what Tennessee has coming back, it's not an awful lot. And this is an offensive line that ran for 2,936 yards, or blocked 4 running backs that did all that. Tennessee allowed the 7th most sacks in the Southeastern Conference at 30 this year. And your only star returner, really, is Lance Hurd. Lance Hurd's coming back, and quite frankly, Lance Hurd was not nearly what we thought he was going to be, at least in year one, coming into the transfer portal. He was supposed to be the cherry on top of 4 returning starters and 2 key backups on the offensive line. And I'm not giving up on Lance Hurd. I still think Lance Hurd's got a whole nother level and gear to get to, okay? But he was a first-year starter in the Southeastern Conference, a redshirt freshman. And he's pretty much what Nico Imaliava was at playing left tackle in the Southeastern Conference, all right? There's going to be some growth there. There's going to be some movement. But in 2024, it wasn't that good. He ended better than he started. I'll get that. He started 11 games, missed 2 games, 753 offensive snaps. He graded out at, and again, it's something to take. It's not everything, but I'm not going to ignore this as well. He graded out at 44.0 per Pro Football Focus. Boy, oh boy, is that bad. That's atrocious. That is atrocious. He allowed 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, a team most 16 pressures, over 365 pass pro opportunities. All right, John Campbell was not much better on the other side. Dane Davis, allowed 4 sacks. That tied for the most on the team with John Campbell at right tackle. So again, I'm not trying to just diss Hurd here. He's going to have to get better, and I think that he will. But it was not what we thought it was going to be in year number 1. He's got to take a step, and I think that he will, but he's got to take a step. Who else are you losing? Well, or who else are you returning, I guess I should say. We'll get to David Sanders here in a moment. He's a newcomer. Larry Johnson, who played a little bit at tackle, specifically the Oklahoma game, he's going to be back. Bennett Warren, Jesse Perry, those are 2 true freshmen in 2024 that could they play a role in the offensive tackle position group for Tennessee this year? We'll have to see. Trevor Duncan, Jeremiah Hurd are still here. Brian Grant, those are some of those reserve offensive tackles that Tennessee has in the position room. You look in the interior. Well, who's going to replace Cooper Mays? Will it be William Satterwhite, Max Anderson, or Jesse Perry? We'll have to see. I mean, we talked about the last couple of years, who's the backup center? What if something happens to Cooper Mays? You had Jerome Carvin as a fill-in. Excuse me. You had Ollie Lane last year as a fill-in. Dane Davis has filled in some. Dane Davis actually didn't play any center at all this year, but he was kind of that emergency center. Somebody's going to have to play center this year. Leader in the clubhouse, probably William Satterwhite right now. Bites and Lang left via the transfer portal, but that's something to pay attention to. You look at guard, Wendell Moy Jr. came in, and we'll get to him in a minute as a transfer portal addition. We'll see about Andre Keurig, okay? That's the biggest question mark. Like, will he return? He's trying to get another year of eligibility. But putting him aside right now, Gage Ginther, Perry, Anderson, who we've already mentioned, Sham Umarov, Aiden Bussell, Masai Reddick. Not a lot of those guys have got a lot of experience. Sham has got the most experience. He was the fourth offensive guard this past football season in 2024. So gonna have to replace an awful lot. And those are some of the guys who are returning, returning returning guys who are on the roster this year. Who is gone? Well, I mentioned Andre Keurig. Right now, we'll act as if he is gone, but of course he's fighting for another year of eligibility. I had a stat up here. Okay, here we go. No, I had a stat. So okay, here we go. As it currently stands, this is saying Andre Keurig will not return. Okay, as it currently stands, Tennessee is losing a combined 48 starts, 3,646 snaps from the Tennessee offensive line in 2024. That is a whole lot that you got to replace. Andre Keurig, we'll see what happens. You're losing Dane Davis and Jackson Lampley, who were your two backup, key reserves, and Dane Davis is a part-time starter. A lot of people don't like the fact that a former walk-on was playing significant snaps. Well, that's football times. Look around the country. Dane Davis is a guy that has played a lot of football for you the last couple of years, and that's a guy that you don't want to miss out on. That's a guy that you don't want to lose in terms of having on your bench. And Tennessee, of course, he's graduating, so got to say goodbye to him. Jackson Lampley as well, who's played some. I mentioned Bison Lane left for the transfer portal. Javonte Spraggins is leaving. Cooper Mays is leaving. John Campbell is leaving. There's 4 of your starters on the offensive line. 6 of your top 7 contributors on the offensive line for 2024 are leaving due to graduation. So you're going to have to replace an awful lot. Who are you going to replace them with? Well, Wendell Moy Jr., who I mentioned earlier, so far at the time of this recording, the only transfer portal addition for Tennessee thus far. A former second-team All-Pac-12 performer, 760 snaps in 2024, 864 snaps played in 2023. Pro Football Focus grades of 67.4 and 68.5, respectively. So he's been pretty consistent, and those are around about the same Pro Football Focus grades of that of Andre Keurig and Cooper Mays, who played the most, or who had the highest grades so far this season for Tennessee. Moy is expected to come in and compete for one of the starting guard spots in 2025. David Sanders, who we know, a 5-star plus offensive tackle. Tennessee held on until the very, very end over Ohio State. Nebraska, made a push there back in the summer. But David Sanders is expected to come in and be a starter at right tackle, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast that we're in. Is David Sanders, we'll have to see how he does in spring, but is he ready to step in day one and be a starter in the Southeastern Conference? Probably not. But he's going to be, right, in my opinion. He's going to be. You got to play him. You got to play him. So I fully expect David Sanders, who's got the most upside, who's going to turn into a terrific player, in my opinion. I expect David Sanders to be your starter at right tackle. Nick Moore coming in from Jefferson County. Shout out Patriots. Coached by Spencer Riley, former Tennessee football captain. Could he be the center of the future for Tennessee? We'll see. He's a 4-star, 6'3", 290 pounds, the overall number 212 player in the cycle. Nick Moore will be an early enrollee. And then you have Anthony Agmoro, who's another interior guy. I mentioned all those tackle bodies. You're losing a lot of guard, from this roster in 2024. So Tennessee wanted to find some more guard bodies outside of David Sanders. And Agmoro is another one of those guys that's going to, be a body and replace some of those guys you're losing. 6'5", 290 pounds, 522 overall in the cycle, number 43 interior offensive lineman. He's a developmental player, obviously. Tennessee won out over Oklahoma and some others. 8th-ranked player out of the Sooner State. But those are the 3 newcomers, 4 technically right now, via the addition of Wendell Moy from the transfer portal. So Tennessee's going to have to replace an awful lot, and some can argue that good. Tennessee needs a reset, and there's something to that. Tennessee absolutely needed a reset at right tackle. Tennessee didn't get its best guard play out of Javonte Spraggins this year. Cooper Mays is going to be a big loss, and we'll see about Andre Carrick, who I thought Andre Carrick played his best football for Tennessee this year. Andre Carrick would be a welcome addition back, obviously. But Tennessee's got to replace some guys, no doubt about it. They've got some guys coming in. We'll see what Tennessee continues to do in the transfer portal. Already one addition. And, spring practice is going to be huge for this ball club because there's got to be some development in there. And I'll go back to the stat. Tennessee is losing a combined 48 starts and 3,646 snaps from the Tennessee offensive line in 2024. I didn't do the math to account for all their years played and snaps played, but just in 2024, 3,646 combined snaps and 48 combined starts. Got to replace a lot, and obviously Tennessee is going to have to do just that. Okay, when we come back, we will dive into Tennessee basketball's win over Arkansas to begin SEC play. A dominant win, that is for sure. All that and more is coming up next as we continue on here on this Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Big game upsets to game-winning drives. The NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Visit the website and share betting lines around the team and league that you can check out on the website, on the app. Safe, secure, easy to use. NFL playoffs are here. College basketball is happening right now. You can do prop bets. You can do individual money lines, all that and more over with FanDuel Sportsbook. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make the playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, guys, welcome back to your Monday morning edition of Locked On Vols, where we talk Tennessee football each and every single episode, and we'll lead off with it. We'll talk football every single month of the year, even in the offseason, but we're going to talk about the number one ranked Tennessee basketball team, and that's the Tennessee Volunteers, opening up SEC play with a dominant win over Arkansas, 76-52, and Tennessee just took them to the woodshed. 42-27, outscored them with a late run in the first half. 34-25, outscored them in the second half. 76-52 overall. Tennessee had a 12-point scoring run there to end, towards the end of the first half at the 8:38 mark is when that ended. Tennessee led 34 minutes of this basketball game. Tennessee had its biggest lead just under a minute left to play, where it was nearly 30 points at 27 points in this basketball game. And again, it's not like Tennessee shot the daylights out of it. Tennessee shot 39% from the field in this basketball game. Tennessee shot 38% from three, which is respectable. Arkansas was 6 of 29 overall from three. Was horrific from the free throw line. They were 6 of 13 from the charity stripe, which is just awful. 6 of 29 from downtown. So Tennessee certainly took advantage of all that. Tennessee forced 15 turnovers, where Tennessee turned it over just 13 times. Tennessee outscored them in the paint 26-22. Tennessee outscored them in second chance opportunities off how many offensive rebounds? Let's see here. 5 offensive rebounds for Tennessee, 16-10. Tennessee outscored them from the bench 9-7, even though Tennessee didn't have a very strong offensive game from Jordan Gainey or Cade Phillips. Still, Tennessee was able just to dominate. And what did Tennessee do in terms of dominating? Well, it's Chaz Lanier in his first SEC game. Boy, did he look great. The transfer coming over, trying to replace a lot of the production. You can't do it all, but a lot of the production left by from obviously Dalton Connect, 29 points. He was 10 of 20 shooting from the field, 5 of 9 from downtown, 4 of 4 from the charity stripe. Chaz Lanier finished with 29 points. He had 3 fouls, 2 rebounds, 1 turnover, no assist, 1 block. I wouldn't have an assist either if I dropped 29. But he was fantastic. He was obviously the story of the game. 29 points from Lanier, 12 points from Ziegler, who had 7 assists. You had 13 points from Igor, who had 18 rebounds. Incredible, man. Even when he's not shooting well, he is rebounding the basketball. 18 rebounds from Igor Milicic. You had 10 points for Felix Okpara, who had 4 rebounds. You had 12. You had 3 points from Jamal Mashak. So 4 of the 5 starters scored in double figures. And Tennessee's just kind of spreading the wealth, being led by Chaz Lanier. You look over at who was on the other sideline, right? Or who was down the sideline, I guess. John Calipari, former longtime Kentucky Wildcat head coach, good friends with Rick Barnes, but an enemy to Tennessee fan base. Jonas Adu, a former all-conference player for Tennessee that played 3 years here, and he was booed when he came out for warm-ups. He was booed when he was introduced in the starting lineup. He was booed most of the time when he touched the basketball. It was a rough day for the former Tennessee forward. He played nearly 30 minutes. He was 2 for 3 from the field, 0 for 2 from the free throw line. He missed 2 early free throws. I was listening to it on the Vol Radio Network in the first half, and I could hear the boos just raining down. 4 points total. He had 5 total rebounds. He had 1 turnover, 2 steals, 3 blocks. But from an offensive standpoint, he was not very good. Again, 4 total points. Rough day for Jonas Adu. Tennessee improves again to 14-0, 1-0 in SEC play, and John Calipari's Arkansas Razorbacks fall to 11-3, 0-1 in Southeastern Conference play. And how good has Tennessee basketball been so far this season? Well, it did more than just tie a program record for the best start to a season with its 76-52 win over Arkansas. Tennessee, end of the day, is the only undefeated team left in the country. Florida, Oklahoma entered the start of SEC play on Saturday with perfect 13-0 records. Both of those teams lost in the first weekend of Southeastern Conference play. Florida lost by 6 to Kentucky, Kentucky that's ranked number 10, and then the Sooners lost to, is it Alabama? Yeah, it was Alabama. Got blown out by Alabama, really. 107-79. That was a top, top 15 matchup? I know the Tide's ranked in the top 5, but anyway, the week started with 4 teams that were undefeated. Drake lost. Let's see here, and then those other 3 that I just mentioned. The 4th being Tennessee, of course. So Drake was that other outlier team there. But Tennessee's won 14 straight games for just the 4th time in program history, now matching the 1922-1923 Vols for the best start in program history. That team in 22-23 went 14-0 as part of a 17-game schedule. Obviously, there's much more games to be played now. Those wins included, I'm reading a story here from Grant Ramey. No Carson Newman on there. How about it? You got Camp Benning, Maryville, Tusculum, Milligan, Georgetown, Kentucky, Center. We're just going through all the letters that I got as a football player, a senior in high school, right? Emory and Henry, hello, Wasp. No Carson Newman. How about that? They didn't want none of them talons up Eagles, baby. But nonetheless, man, Tennessee basketball is just on fire right now. 14-game win streak, just the 4th in program history, 2nd of the Rick Barnes era. That 2018-19 team did the same thing when they won 19 straight. There was a 15-game winning streak that bridged the 1914-15 to 1915-16 seasons to go along with another 14-game win streak to start the 1922. So anyway, outside of the other one that was done by Rick Barnes in 2018-2019, this just hasn't been, I mean, the longevity of these winning streaks, just not the norm for Tennessee basketball. So, hats off to Rick Barnes and his club. The win over Arkansas should mean that Tennessee keeps his number 1 ranking when it comes out later today, obviously. That would be for the 5th straight week, and that would be another program record. That 2018-2019 team was ranked number 1 and for 4 weeks during its 19-game win streak. The 2007-2008 team spent 1 week. I remember that. I was a freshman in high school, and I remember we were sitting in, what was it? Was it English class or was it history? I don't know, whatever class it was. But whenever the clock struck noon, and back then, I don't know when the polls came out, but I think I told everybody when it was noon, Tennessee would officially be the number 1 ranked team in the country. So when it went noon, we all started celebrating. The teacher's like, "What are you doing?" We're like, Tennessee basketball's number 1, right? Well, that was short-lived, obviously, because they lost the next week. But nonetheless, Tennessee spent 1 week ranked as the number 1 team in that 07-08 season. Tennessee is ranked number 2 in the net, 3-0 with quad 1 games, 1-0 with quad 2 games, 9-0 with quad 3 and quad 4 games. Auburn's number 1 in the net, and of course that's kind of the debate here. Tennessee Auburn. Auburn's got a 6-1 record with quad 1, 6-0 with quad 3 and 4. Tennessee's number 4 overall in the KenPom rankings. Auburn's 1 there. Duke is 2. Houston is 3. The Vols went back up to number 1 in KenPom's adjusted defensive efficiency on Saturday after that win. Tennessee's giving up 87.2 points per 100 possessions, which is really, really good after limiting Arkansas to just 52 points on Saturday. Tennessee's number 20 in adjusted offensive efficiency rankings, 119.2 points per 100 possession. I know that was a lot of numbers thrown at you, but bottom line, Tennessee basketball is good. Tennessee basketball is playing very, very well right now. Chaz Lanier, 29 points in his SEC debut, and Jonas Adu. It was not a good homecoming party for him, losing with Arkansas in dismantling fashion for the Arkansas basketball team, 76-52 at the hands of the Tennessee men's basketball team. All right, we got a final segment left. Hey, forgot to mention this earlier. Getting your questions, comments, concerns, any questions that you guys have, I'll do my best to answer them right here on the show tomorrow. Mailbag edition of the show. _Caner at Locked On Vols, and of course you can comment on the YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll come back and talk a little Tennessee and the NFL draft here in a moment. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff games is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of the past playoff games and can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your events even easier. It filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Recently, I used a Game Time Picks to find tickets for a Tennessee basketball game. I browsed through deals with a breeze, and I found great value for all kinds of seats around the venue. The Super Deal in particular stood out as the best value for the event. I love that I could see I could see the seat views before buying the app to show the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkouts. Plus, the one-time ticket delivery and lowest price guarantee gave me complete peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, put in the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, guys, we got a couple of segments left here on this Monday morning edition of Locked On Vols. Again, as I ended off segment number 2, I do encourage you guys to send in some questions. I'll do my best to answer them on tomorrow's show. Want to look at kind of where ESPN's ranking some Tennessee Volunteers in the upcoming NFL draft. Now, I saw the article was about Ashton Jeanty, and it was essentially, how high does Mel Kiper Jr. rank Ashton Jeanty in terms of his last 20 draft classes in terms of running backs, and went through the list there, and there's no Tennessee Volunteers, so obviously I'm not going to read it, but spoiler, he's pretty high. There's a lot, and I mean a lot, of Alabama Crimson Tide running backs on that list. Goodness gracious. But nonetheless, got me thinking about, okay, well, if we're talking Ashton Jeanty, where does Dylan Sampson rank? And we know this. It's been public knowledge for a little bit now, but Mel Kiper and ESPN has Dylan Sampson currently as the 10th ranked running back. And all I'm doing is I'm going to ESPN.com, going over the NFL draft tab, going to best available. Okay. And they'll do mock drafts, and they will mix and match the power rankings and all that. There was a long time before now and the NFL draft, and we really leaned into that coverage 2 years ago with Hendon Hooker. We'll probably lean back into it a little bit with James Pearce, because he's going to be a top, first-round draft pick, maybe a top 10. More on that here in a moment. But Dylan Sampson comes in there at number 10, and there's some really good players in front of him. But SEC Player of the Year, All-American. It's kind of hard to swallow him being the 10th best running back in the draft class. It is a loaded draft class, though. Look at it. Jeanty leads the way as the top-ranked running back. Amari Hampton from North Carolina is at number 2. Caleb Johnson for Iowa is at number 3. Those were the Doak Walker Award finalists, just because that committee was so lazy and went on just stats. But there you have it. Those are all 3 really, really good players, and the Doak Walker Award Committee should be ashamed because they're super, super lazy. I'll continue to say that. Judkins from Ohio State there at number 4. Singleton from Penn State's at number 5. Jordan James, what up, Middle Tennessee native? He's from Oregon, who got hurt in the college football playoff, lost to Ohio State. He's ranked number 6. Henderson of Ohio State is ranked number 7. Trevor Etienne of Georgia's at 8. Scatabo from Arizona State, we all know and we all enjoyed watching him play the last couple of weeks. He's at number 9, right in front of Dylan Sampson, and Dylan Sampson actually comes in front of Ollie Gordon of Oklahoma State that, began this season off just horribly off the field, but he was the name everybody was kind of looking to begin this season. RJ Harvey, who had a fantastic year at UCF, he comes in at number 12. And then anybody else that's kind of notable, I'm looking at Jaquez Hunter of Auburn's at number 18. Nate Noel of Missouri is at number 19. And Rocket Sanders for South Carolina, formerly of Arkansas, is at number 20. But, that's tough sledding. Like, Dylan Sampson should be way up this list, in my opinion. But, those are some really, really good backs. So I understand in terms of the strength of the running back class, it is absolutely loaded this year. So Sampson comes in right number 10 at his own position, according to ESPN's NFL draft rankings. I started to kind of go, down the list and everything. The other name that immediately stuck out to me was James Pearce. So I went over here to the Edge and the Edge column. James Pearce was ranked number 4. He ranked behind Nick Scorton of Texas A&M, formerly of Purdue, who came in at number 3. Michael Williams of Georgia. Georgia's always got someone on the edge that's going to be highly ranked. And Abdul Carter from Penn State, who leads the rankings as the number 1 ranked edge. James Pearce Jr. comes in at number 4 on that list. Now, if you want to go over to the overall rankings, James Pearce Jr. comes in at number 8, whereas Abdul Carter comes in at number 1, Michael Williams at number 6, Nick Scorton at 7, James Pearce at 8. So obviously, NFL draft, you build your roster on quarterbacks, guys who can get after the quarterbacks, guys who can protect the quarterback, and guys who the quarterback can throw to, and guys who can defend that passer. In other words, quarterback, edge, tackle, wide receiver, and corner is kind of the way you go about building a recruiting class and obviously building an NFL franchise. And so that's why there's so many edges here towards the top of the power rankings. So James Pearce at number 4, 8 overall. Sampson at number 10 at his position. I'll kind of work backwards. Go to linebacker, Keenan Peely. Keenan Peely is considered by ESPN to be the number 13 linebacker. And typically linebacker is such an undervalued position in the NFL. I don't think that's in terms of interior, like inside linebackers, I don't think 13 inside linebackers are going to be drafted. Some other names that, make a whole lot of sense up here. You got Jahad Campbell of Alabama, Deontay Lawson. Those are the top 2 leading ones up there. Small Munden of Georgia. He's the 4th ranked guy. Danny Stutzman of Oklahoma is the 8th ranked guy. Cody Simon, who Tennessee just played, is the 9th ranked linebacker. Jamon Dumas Johnson, formerly of Georgia, who ended his career at Kentucky, is ranked number 11. Keenan Peely's down there at number 13. Let's go to defensive tackle, and this is where Tennessee is well represented, okay? According to ESPN, these are the defensive tackle position rankings, okay? And again, they'll change. Amari Thomas comes in at number 11, and there will be several defensive tackles taken, certainly. Amari Thomas comes in ranked number 11 at his position. You go down 4 spots, and Bryson Eason, who I believe will be returning to Tennessee this year, is ranked number 15. And Omar Norman-Lott, who many have seen as a second-round mock draft pick per The Athletic and some other outlets here lately, comes in there at number 18. So Tennessee, in terms of the defensive tackle rankings, number 11 with Amari Thomas, number 15 with Bryson Eason, and number 18 with Omar Norman-Lott. Not a bad showing there whatsoever. You go to the offensive line, and Tennessee does not have an offensive lineman ranked. I went immediately to center. Okay, Cooper Mays is not listed as one of the top 10 centers, which is disappointing. Seth McLaughlin, who won the Remington Award winner, he's the number 1 ranked center. He's up there number 1. Parker Brailsford from Alabama's 3. Jared Wilson from Georgia's 2. I'm trying to see if we recognize any other names, but nonetheless, Cooper Mays is not listed among the top 10 centers, which is very disappointing. Spraggins nor Carrick are listed at the top 13 guards. Offensive tackle, John Campbell nor Dane Davis is listed amongst the top 18 tackles. Okay. Fullback doesn't have anybody listed there. Tennessee doesn't have any tight ends available because Miles Kitselman's coming back. Wide receiver, here's interesting. I was looking for Dante Thornton. I found Brew McCoy. Brew McCoy listed as the number 19th ranked wide receiver per ESPN. And I'll be intrigued to see kind of where he gets drafted for sure. Travis Hunter's the number 1 ranked wide receiver, which clearly he's not the best wide receiver in the country. Trey Harris is number 3. Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State is number 4. Oregon has players at 6 and 8. Isaiah Bond there's at number 9, so on and so forth. But those are some of the Tennessee ranked players in terms of where they rank positional-wise by ESPN heading into the NFL draft. And, of course, that will change many, many times over the course of the next couple of months. But I found that interesting because I was looking at Sampson, then I started to kind of expand my search a little bit, and that kind of led me to where Tennessee's other players were ranked. Sampson, the 10th-ranked running back. Pearce, the 4th-ranked edge, 8th overall. Peely, the 13th-ranked inside linebacker. Amari Thomas, the 11th-ranked defensive tackle. Omar Norman-Lott, the 18th-ranked defensive tackle. Bryson Eason, the 15th-ranked defensive tackle. No Tennessee offensive lineman was ranked, so no Cooper, no John Campbell, Javonte Spraggins, Andre Carrick, Dane Davis, and Brew McCoy was ranked number 19 in terms of wide receiver. All right, that is going to do it here for this edition of Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for being here. Don't forget to get in those questions, comments, concerns, all that and more. We'll answer those questions, do my best to answer as much as I can on tomorrow's show. Appreciate you guys. Let's do it again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.